Thanks for holding up. So let's look window here. All right. Hello everyone, once again. Well, we got more people listening in, so that's good. I'm recording, so should be all right. So yeah, I mean, God, I said so much, but you can see here evil signals, right? And we have a system called the warden. The warden basically, from what the research qualified these MBO derived signals, and I don't know why I have so much pushback often from the public when they're like, prove it, prove that these are MBO. I'm like, well, I have a rhythmic feed, and if you know rhythmic, it provides we have full depth, right? Which means on NASDAQ you have like 1400 or so levels of orders, right? Um, and L3 is like it will show such granularity where you'll see orders being placed as a limit resting at a certain price, not filled yet. And you'll also see stacking of orders, so where they keep refilling, and you'll also see where even this detailed, where you'll see them removing those same orders. So you can see that each order has an order tag, right? uh, via CME. And so you can see, can you imagine if I placed an order on Top Step, right? You have an order ID that's affiliated with your account, right? So it has this sort of same granular level of tracking, yeah. Um, so yeah, the warden will be like, hey, Hobgoblin GC. These are all Hobgoblin themed names. Don't ask why. Uh, I just decided. Um, but yeah, it will be like, hey, Hobgoblin GC, you're not matching the research anymore. Let's pause you. And there's a threshold whereby it basically takes a snapshot of the research. And if it starts to deviate from that uh, across a 20 trade span, right, which is always trailing, so always the last 20 trades, does it match the research? Then it will pause it, and if it comes back in to, you could call it regime, but it's kind of more than a regime. It's like a research qualified shape, right? If it comes back in, it will automatically switch it on, and it did that perfectly like a week or so ago. I only implemented the warden maybe 2 weeks ago. I can't remember exactly. But yeah, so that's pretty useful thing. The warden not only checks against what the research qualified shapes for each signal type um, are currently progressing, like, but it also keeps an eye on the feed, quality of feed, and whatnot, among many other things. But yes, you'll see that Hobgoblin GC is the currently active one. Redcap has been stood down, as you can see here, because it's currently out of regime. But because we only implemented it like 2 weeks ago, it hadn't actually captured, and Redcap was only since the last maybe 5 days, 5 trading days, um, since it's been plugged into the regime analysis system in Warden. So it didn't pick up where when it was out of regime, right? But after I think 3 or 4 days of Hobgoblin GC being plugged into the Warden, it brought it. Can you imagine? It brought it back, right? And ever since it got brought back, um, so around about the time that you had these string of losses, that was out of regime for Hobgoblin GC. This is the performance chart. And the moment that it got brought back, it was requalified as the same shape. As you can see, the angle is matching the research again, right? The research is from um, the month of, we actually did a frozen virgin walk, which just basically means letting the trades perform live. It was like for 40 trades. Yeah. And so we do this rigorous process. We had like 700 odd MBO derived signal types that I identified. Can you imagine? How can you even have 700 different ways to read the order book? Well, I didn't think you could have so many ways, but here we are. So over the last 6 months, about, I've been working on ATM Lab and the Signals app. And the research 700, only about 60 have made it to the research trackers, right? And so for a signal to actually get on this board here, yeah, it needs to have first been identified 1 month as something with edge. Then we take that and we see how it fares, how it does with applying it to months those signals have never seen before, right? Many months. And so we are applying it with raw MBO data, can you imagine, for many months, which is very expensive, by the way. Um, so yeah, to be able to get to this point, you have to really want it because you're spending a lot of money and you're putting literally every waking hour into it. But yeah, surrender to the process. It's like that, isn't it? It's like just take each day as it comes. But yeah, so once it qualifies that out of sample, right, which is the applying the idea, the theory to months it hadn't seen before, if it passes that, then it makes it to this list. Now you can even see that just because it's got on this list doesn't mean that it will win, because only so far one. So this is Redcap, the NQ signal, Wisp NQ passed yesterday. So two NQ signals, Cobalt, which is ES, and Hobgoblin GC. Those are the only four that have passed out of the 60 so far, and a lot of them have been tombstoned, failed. But just because a signal fails doesn't mean I write it off completely, because it worked at one point somewhere for multiple months, right? So I let it keep accruing. I also do a review process to see if it's a noise cancellation. Um, it's worthy of a noise cancellation review. So maybe there's an edge hiding in there, right? Uh, but the walk wasn't able to pick it up. So I rewalk them under a new name, right? And I don't fast track the process. There is no fast track. I see how it performs with our systems tracking it. And the way that I get, because it's one thing to have an edge you've identified, but to actually get it to translate, can you imagine, as something that can be executed live based off the order books, which is very high frequency data coming in, so many data points every second, right? So to get it to actually work in a like a executable format with an automated trading machine, which is always my focus, how like you can have signals that work really well in research, but you just can't translate them to an executionable trigger, right? And that's the other like thing that's difficult to accept sometimes, right? Um, so yeah, so many different things you need to actually factor in, and so that's why I do the live walks, right? Why? Because I actually have our like an execution engine linked to those live walks to see how uh, the discrepancies between what's executed in research and what can be executed live. So I'm tracking that too as like a side engine. Yeah. Um, but all through all of that, it's ended up with we've got 4 signals, which is arguably more than enough, all being managed by the warden, right? So it'll cut a signal before it does too much damage now, and it will bring it back when it's ready to start thriving again. You see? Um, but yeah, that's that. ATM Lab, it's cool. It's basically you will just be able to log in, right? You'll be able to just log in with Tradeovate, Top Step X, super fast execution. Um, these are the different signals that are triggering. You can choose your contract size. I need to I need to re-log in, it looks like. Um, yeah, invalid session. Yeah, so I got to log in again. But as you can see, well, this should have never happened because that was red cap and the warden didn't exist then. But you can see ES since going live literally 2 days ago, 12 points. That's good. That's good. And now we're back. These are live executions. So um, yeah, it went through a phase of where GC Hobgoblin was allowed to trade when it shouldn't have because it was pre warden, right? Um, so yeah, this shouldn't have happened with the warden. It wouldn't have because it would have been stood down. We now have the new NQ signal type, the high frequency, right? Which will mean that suddenly 14 trades becomes like by this point of the day, maybe in total all trades running 30 to 40. So you got a lot of trades running, right? Um, and it'll come to the point where, okay, so today, what is it? Here, from here upwards, we had, we don't know if we had Wisp trades, the new signal yet, because it hasn't been on, it seems. But we had an ES which won, then a GC that won, a GC that lost, and a GC that won, right? So that's all being managed very nicely now. Um, yeah, I'd show you the research table because I literally have a chart for every single signal being tracked here. Yeah. Um, can you imagine? And so I can see some element of like how things are panning out. That's how I knew Wisp was likely going to pass. Um, but yeah, very interesting. I've been working very hard. Um, and yeah, this isn't a case of like, is are we? Are we using MBO, real data, or whatever? We are. We also have a charting platform coming out, which so many new charting platforms coming out because people are just like, I'll make my own. It will probably be a success. I'll just copy Sierra or ExoCharts or MMT. And I'm looking at that thinking, yeah, but wouldn't it be cool to actually make something that's different to all those platforms? No, I don't see the point in just I made my version. Cool. You made your version. For you personally, cool. But like me, like wanting a product, I want something that does something special, right? So imagine an order flow platform that was like told, like you didn't have to be a scientist of charts to be able to interpret what's going on. Maybe you can have something that was like, hey, evil AI script plus order flow, right? The best of what we have in TradingView plus order flow. And not only that, wouldn't it be fantastic if the platform told you when to pay attention based on like a multitude of different intersecting factors? I'll try and say that in a less like bullshit way, but like if one system like footprint and let's say the L3 depth all agree and like iceberg, um, we have an iceberg system that shows iceberg strength currently. Gives you a bit of a bias, like currently the big guys are stacking buy orders, whatever. Wouldn't it be cool to know all of that with a pop-up on your screen the moment we hit an EM level or a stack or whatever? So this is, you can sort of like understanding my sort of interest over the years, if you've known me for a while. Um, my interest in doing things that are sort of actionable, like giving us actionable insights, as opposed to just being like, trade this. Yeah, but what about these things? Oh, just accept that. You know, it's an unknown. Well, I want to sort of carve out the knowns in the what people tend to just accept as unknowns. But yeah, for like people that want like, oh, I don't know if order flow is for me. It sounds complicated. I trade this simple market structure style or whatever. Well, this is gearing towards being a platform that would make it comfortable um, for any kind of trader to just come in, plug in their shit, and get started with order flow and actually get some sort of utility from an order flow platform with whatever they're trading. Also, yeah, you'll be able to, of course, take your Pine scripts from TradingView and plug them into our platform too, which is very cool. Uh, so it's kind of also geared up to be a replacement for TradingView, um, but with much more utility and better data. I mean, sounds good already. I know I'll be using that instead of TradingView. So um, also another thing you can execute on the platform. And in the past on TradingView, if you're using props or many other different platforms, you'd have to ever have you ever been in the position where you're like, I'm only trading micros today, no more blown accounts, right? And then you accidentally pull up a mini chart and you execute one mini, whereas you were trying to execute one micro. Well, now we'll have it so um, you can be on the mini chart for analysis, which is advisable, right? But you can execute your micros on that chart. Tradeovate said something about doing that in the past, but they never actually like implemented it like I thought they were going to. So we've basically implemented it like we sort of hoped other platforms would do, you know? Anyway, very cool. Very cool. And we work very hard. I think that's the main thing. Like, you want a team of people behind software development and whatnot for trading, not just trading, but you want your team to be literal like monsters in the kitchen, right? Um, and I am just so obsessed with this. And I got my twin brother, William, working alongside me, and we make a really good team too. He's been building the platform, um, but suddenly all of the things where it's like, oh, this could be better. Like people using our scripts in premium, this could be better. Oh, it'd be nice if this could happen. It's like it's always been like a stone wall. Like, yeah, it would be cool, but we can't do that in TradingView. Now it's like, what do you want, guys? And I want this, this, and this. Oh yeah, we can do that. Suddenly we can do anything we want. So it's like suddenly the ball has been let out of the gate. We're just like ferociously attacking ideas that we've had for years, but we've never been able to actually like bring them into reality. Um, anyway, let me see what people have said. Uh, yes, please record it. Yeah. Okay, well, that's it. Short and sweet. Don't want to lie. If you got any questions, so I mean, like, let's give like an ETA on things, because so the signals that you saw, right, in here that are currently being managed, and I feel confident enough to just be like, hey, if you want to hook up your webhook, cool. But by the way, webhooks will not be a permanent thing in the Signals app. It'll become just a notifications only when ATM Lab comes into in on the scene, right? We have members that are triggering now the signals, and you get access to that with premium. Um, and since the wardens came on board, it's working better, obviously. Um, but yeah, it's kind of like if you'd have to build your own executor because it's not just like some of these companies like Pick My Trade, they will execute brackets like a stop and a target. They won't execute something strange like Redcap where it exits on a 10-minute after it's triggered. It will exit win or lose depending on where price is in proximity to the entry at 10 minutes, right? I know, kind of weird, but that's the kind of system you'd need to actually manage your webhook triggered with the webhook message that gets sent from evil signals.trade, right? Um, so then it's like, okay, but that's up to you. And people might be like, I've signed up for this. And I'm like, well, you can do it, but I'm not going to like carefully help people build an executor. That's up to you. Like, I already have enough success trading the tools manually, and that's what premium pays for. Getting the signals app is like a plus because it was never something that from the get-go last year when we launched, I was like, yeah, we're gonna give you a signals app too. It's just been this gradual process of building. Originally, I was against the idea um, because it kind of touches this legal element where you're providing signals. But then eventually, I was like, you know what? I think it's a great thing. But then I started the process of like trying to slay the demon, which is a notoriously difficult thing to produce trading signals that are consistent enough for just anyone to plug in and use, right? Let alone creating them from something like raw order book L3 data, right? So yeah, anyway, so yeah, to summarize, Evil Signals is live, but ATM Lab comes live the moment that happens. No more webhooks, and you'd have to sign up for ATM Lab, which is, by the way, a safeguard for me because I don't know who's creating what kind of quality of executor, right? And so I'd prefer to know how the failures are happening, and I prefer the system to be completely built by us because we have the experience to do it well. Um, yeah. Top Step X. So ATM Lab, maybe a week or two from now, if the new signal type performs how it should, because I still need to see how it executes live, because it's based on very high frequency information. But I did a speed test, and it's within a very good threshold, right? Um, on average. So, and if it's beyond a certain threshold or late, then it will skip the signal, which is even better, right? So, yes, ATM Lab, maybe a few weeks, but I can't say anything. And you have to be part of Premium um, to actually get an opportunity to join, right? And that's not me gatekeeping as much as you think. It's just those people have been there from the start, most of them supporting us, and we wouldn't have been able to get to this point and continue building as intensively as we have without their support, right? So if someone just suddenly swans in after we've launched ATM Lab, can I have access? I'm like, well, we've already given access to 20 people who've been waiting. So I think it's only fair. And why limit the access? Well, first I want to see how our servers manage so many accounts linked up. Um, and then we'll see how we go from there. But 20 people hooked up is, I don't want to offer it to the absolute, like every like all of the traders out there. Um, thankfully we have other cool things like the not only the suite of tools but also the trading platform, the charting platform coming out. So there are other things that are going to be publicly available forever. ATM Lab is a bit more like bespoke, and I'd rather um, keep it sort of not so easily promoted, accessible to just everyone. Um, but I'm flexible. We'll see how we go. But yeah, ATM Lab, couple of weeks. Charting platform, it's currently being tested by 3 people. Um, and so we're making lots of progress with that. That might be out relatively soon. We'll open up a waiting list for that, just to garner like some interest, like see who's interested. I think it's just market research, typical stuff. But yeah, that's it. What else has anyone said? Um, let's see. Could you show a preview of the chart platform? I can't. Can't yet. But it's really cool. Really cool. Uh, so yeah, Hitchhiker said PMT Cloudflare Tradeovate. Yeah, yeah. So you'd need some sort of middleware, not just PMT. You need something that can do timed exits as well when Redcap comes back. Seeing the app, how it looks, if it's ready for that. Not yet. But the waiting list will sort of show like sneak peeks of how the platform looks. And I think I'll run the waiting list for um, like I've half built that, which will be for maybe a few weeks. I don't like to wait too long for these things because prefer to get our stuff out for people to use. Um, it's totally ready, William says for that, but keep it under wraps whilst beta testing. Yeah, I think beta testing. We have some um, testers going through the app and checking for stuff, but it's like how TradingView is really laggy, you know. This is like smooth like butter. So using the platform feels like you're gliding, if that makes sense. Yeah, you don't get all these like glitchy things happening, right? That's already great, and being able to execute trade evade and um, so far top step X and trade evade accounts on there is great, and also being able to execute with order flow and also have all the tools from TradingView in there too. It's like what it gets to a point where it's like, why would I use TradingView when I can use this? You know. Um, all right. Anyway, I tend to talk too much anyway, so I will stop recording.